Welcome to Where There's a Wills, There's a Play. Tale of the Tape, Everdell versus Mistwood, and more specifically, the solo modes of Everdell and Mistwood, which we will get into. What is Everdell? Everdell is a worker placement hand management game. The board has multiple locations you can place your workers. If you look at the board, you can see 8 cards in the middle. That is the meadow. Just above the meadow are basic locations where you can go to get your resources that you will be using. Above that are the basic event cards. And on the first platform on the tree in the back are the special event cards. And on the very top platform, that's where you will just place your extra workers and get them back. To the left and the right of the meadow are the forest locations, and depending on player count, there'll be a certain number of special cards that you can go to and get more resources or cards or coins or other things as well. In the bottom left of the board is the journey, and during the final season, during the autumn, you can turn in cards to place one of your workers on the journey spot. And to the right of the little opening there in the bottom right of the player board, not the player board, of the board is the Haven, which you can turn in cards and earn points or resources. You start the game with 2 workers and a set of cards depending on player count. For solo, it is 5 cards. You use your workers to gain a resource and claim basic or special events. Resources are used to play cards from your hand or the meadow. Some cards can be played with other cards. There are certain construction cards that if you have a construction card, you get to play a critter card for free. There are other cards that allow you to play cards into your hand at a cost of less resources. There are also some cards that you can get rid of from your city in order to play cards. There are 5 different types of cards. There's tan traveler cards, which have a one-time use ability. There are green production cards, which are used immediately, and then they also get to be used when you prepare for the spring and the autumn. And there are some cards that allow you to activate those at other times. So those are pretty powerful. There are red destination cards. So just like the spots on the board, that you can place your workers. If you have red destination cards in your city, you can place your worker in those spots. If you have a red destination card that has an open sign on it, other people can place their workers in those spots in your city. There are blue governance cards, which give you bonuses after playing certain types of cards. And there are purple prosperity cards, which give you bonuses at the end of the game. When you take a card and you place it into your city, you have a 15 card limit in your city. Well, more specifically, a 15 spot limit. You're going to be making a 3x5 or a 5x3 grid in your city. Some cards allow you to stack them or tuck them underneath other ones, and they only take up one spot. And there are some cards that just don't take up a spot in your city. But in general, you have 15 spots. Most likely you're going to have 15 cards, maybe 16 if you can get the right combination of cards. Basic events are claimed when you have a certain number of a card type. So you have a certain number of the green cards or a certain number of the blue cards. You can then place your worker to gain that basic event. Special events need a specific combination of a specific critter and a specific construction card. When you prepare for the new seasons, in the spring, you gain 1 worker and activate production cards, those green cards. In the summer, you gain 1 worker and 2 cards into your hand. You have a hand limit of 8. And in the fall, you gain 2 workers and activate production. Let's take a look at some stats for Everdell and Mistwood. Everdell came out in 2018, has an overall rank of 35 on Board Game Geek, has a weight of 2.81 and an average rating of 8.0. Mistwood came out in 2022, does not officially have an overall rank because it is just an expansion for Everdell. So I guess you could say its rank is also 35. Has a weight of 2.82 and an average rating of 8.1. The player count for Everdell is 1 to 4. The community also says 1 to 4, with it being best at 3 players. The play time is 40 to 80 minutes. Mistwood has a 1 to 4 player count. The community says 1 to 2. We'll talk about that a little bit later, why I believe the community is saying 1 to 2. Best at 1. So that's perfect for a solo review. Playtime is 40 to 100 minutes. But let's get to the real matchup here, which is not Everdell versus Mistwood in a solo game. It is Rugwort versus Nightweave. So let's go to the tail of the tape. In the black corner, from Everdell, standing in at a height of 1 inch with an army of 5 identical clones, he is the rascal, the rotten, the rapscallion, Rugwort, the rat. And hailing from Mistwood, standing at 1 3/4 inches tall, with an army of 8 mini spiderlings, she is the tame, tricky, troublesome, tormenting, and terrifying Nightweave, the spider. Let's take a look at our combatants. With Rugwort, you play with just the base Everdell game. Rugwort, just like the player, starts with 2 rats. One, though, starts in the 3-twig basic location on the far left, and one starts in the top left forest location, completely blocking those off from you in the first season. Rugwort gains cards every time you gain cards into your city. So when you put a card into your city, Rugwort gets one as well. The way he does this is you roll an 8-sided dice, and each spot in the meadow is numbered 1 through 8. He gets that card. Rugwort doesn't play by the rules. Rugwort can have more than 15 cards. So Rugwort is a rat. He doesn't like to play by the rules. Like I said, he can have more than 15 cards. The other thing with Rugwort is if you play some of those cards that I mentioned earlier that allows you to play a different card and get rid of that card from your city, Rugwort still keeps all of his cards. So you might play a card into your city, Rugwort gets one. You might discard that card to play another card into your city, Rugwort still gets another card, whereas you now still only have 1 card in your city. So Rugwort definitely doesn't play by the rules. When you prepare for a new season, Rugwort prepares for the new season. So in preparing for spring, Rugwort checks to see if he has enough cards to gain a basic event. Remember, he is just gaining cards when you do. So it's just random cards with the roll of the dice. If he has enough cards of a certain type to get a basic event, he will take it. He adds a new worker to the top left card in the meadow. This is now out of play for you. His worker in the basic location goes from the 3 twigs to the 2 resin. So now you can't, it's harder to get resin in the second season, in the spring. And he moves his worker in the forest from the top left to the bottom left spot, blocking off that spot. In the summer, he once again checks to see if he has enough cards to gain a basic event. He adds new workers to the number 2 spot in the meadow, which means there are now 2 meadow cards which are off limits to you. He moves his worker from the 2 resin spot to the 1 pebble spot, and he moves his worker from the top left forest location counterclockwise. So he continues going counterclockwise. So he was in the bottom left, he now goes to the top right. When you prepare for the autumn, Rugwort once again checks to see if he has enough cards to gain a basic event. He adds new workers to the number 2 and number 3 spots. So that entire top row of cards in the meadow is now off limits to you. He moves his worker from the 1 pebble to the 1 berry, 1 card spot. And he moves his worker forest location guy to the 3-point journey spot in the basic. We'll talk about different versions or different difficulty levels. That's how Rugwort works. You do stuff, he does stuff, he gains stuff. It's okay. Let's take a look at Nightweave. So with Nightweave, you can see on the picture there is 2 boards that are her lair. You can also see lots of cards. Nightweave has a deck of cards that goes for her actions. There is a set that you use right away, and every season she adds new ones in there. At the beginning, she starts with herself and 2 spiderlings. They all start on Nightweave's lair. Nightweave, like I just said, has an activity deck of cards that controls her movements. Each card is split into 4 seasons. You can see that at the bottom of the picture. You can see there's 4 seasons there. And each season has 2 possible actions that Nightweave might take. If Nightweave cannot take either one of those actions, she will just do the default action, which is going to the market or the haven and just getting coins, which are points at the end of the game. Nightweave has actions much like a human player. She might draw cards. She might discard cards. She might play a card from her hand. She has a hand of cards that she will be using. She might play a card from the meadow, once again, using the 8-sided dice to choose which cards those are. She might play and draw at the same time. She might play and discard. She might place a worker, or she might place herself on the board. Nightweave, like a human, as well as her spiderling minions, can go to the basic locations, blocking them off from you, the forest locations. She can place them into her own city if she has one of those red cards. She can also place them into your city if you have a red card that has an open spot on it. She can place them on a basic event during the round if she has met all the requirements for one of the basic events, or if she has met at least 2 of the required cards. So if it needs 3 and she's got 2 of them, she can take that. She can only get 1 per round, though. Special events, she can also claim if it tells her to. If she has met the requirements of one of them, she automatically takes it. Otherwise, she looks to see if she has met the requirements of at least one requirement of the 2, either the critter or the construction. She can go to the journey spot, and she can go to the market or the haven. Nightweave gains cards when her action cards directs her to. And unlike Rugwort, where he gains cards when you gain card, also Nightweave has an actual city where she cannot have more than 15 cards in her city during the game. So Nightweave is just like you. She's playing by a lot of the same rules as you do. When you prepare for the seasons, she checks to see if she has enough cards to gain another basic event. This is where she plays a little dirty because she can get a second basic event at the end when she's preparing. In this case, she has to have all of the cards. If it needs 3 cards, she can no longer have 2. She needs all 3. She returns web tokens if applicable. There are many modules for Nightweave in Mistwood. I only played the very basic to learn her. I don't know what the web tokens are about, but if those are in play, those get returned. She resets her activity deck. So she takes her activity deck, she shuffles it up, she adds the new ones in for the new season, and there's a little token that you can flip so you remember which season you're in, so you know which part of the card you are using. In the spring, she gains an extra worker. So you can see in the middle of the picture, there are some more spiderlings at the bottom of that right board. So she gains the first one. She adds 2 cards from the main deck to her hand that can possibly be played. And she discards 1 random card from the meadow and replenishes the meadow. So when she discards a card from the meadow, she rolls the 8-sided dice. She chooses that card. During the round, you will have placed her in the meadow somewhere, taking that card and just leaving her there. So there will be now have 2 spots that will get replenished with new cards. So you get a little bit of turnover there at the end of each round, which is nice. When you go into the summer, she gains 2 more workers. She adds 2 cards from the meadow to her hand. So you'll roll the dice. She'll take 2 more cards. She will have already taken 1. So now there's going to be 3 new cards that get replaced, which is nice. Like I said, getting those cards in the meadow replenished in between rounds is really good because it helps get more cards onto the board. And then she will once again replenish the meadow. And finally, when she prepares for autumn, she gains her final 3 workers. So now this is where she's playing very dirty because she has herself plus 8 more spiderling minions that she is placing out on the board. A lot of opportunity for her to get a lot of points in this last round because there's a lot of spaces she can go. Hopefully she just blocks stuff from you that you don't need, but she might be going to that haven a whole lot and getting a lot of points. She adds 2 cards from the main deck now, so now she just takes them off of the deck, and she discards 2 random cards from the meadow and replenishes the meadow. So once again, there'll be 3 brand new cards in the meadow when she goes into the autumn. Here is where things are even more different. Nightweave does not prepare or does not end her game when you do. Nightweave ends the game when she can't make any moves at the end of the game, and she will prepare. She might prepare before you. So if she has collected critter or construction cards as achievements and placed them on her lair, you now place them in her city, even if her city is full. So this is the one spot where the one time where she might have more than 15 cards. You also discard the Fool card if it had been collected as an achievement, and you claim one final basic event if she has met all the requirements. So let's go on to the scoring for both of them. Rugwort scores 2 points per base card, whereas Nightweave scores the card value. So if it's worth 3 points, she gets it. The one difference is depending on which difficulty level you're playing, if she has any point cards that are 0 point cards in her hand, she will score either 0, 1, 1, 1, or 5 points. The prosperity cards, Rugwort gets 3 points. Nightweave, once again, 0, 0, 1, 2, or 3, depending on your difficulty level. They both score the total value of their point tokens. Basic events, Rugwort gets 3 points for each basic event. Nightweave gets whatever the event score is, which I believe they're all 3 points. Maybe one of them's 4. The big difference here is the special events, because Rugwort scores for each special event you did not achieve. So if all 4 special events are up there, and it is very likely in a solo game without those cards turning over enough that you can't get the two specific cards you need to get a special event, Rugwort is going to walk away with 12 points, even in the easiest level of play, and then 6 points in the second and third level of play. If you get lucky, you might leave him with only 9 points, and you'll get however many points are on that card. So you might be able to offset. If you get really lucky, as far as me, I've gotten really lucky once and gotten only given him 2 of the special event cards, and offset a little bit. But it's really hard to do that because you need 2 specific cards to come up in this big deck of cards that does not turn over a whole lot in solo play. Whereas Nightweave, she has to actually earn the special events during the game, and she gets 3, 4, 5, 6, or 6 points. The journey locations, as I pointed out earlier, Rugwort in the lowest level, he moves to the 3-point location. In the second level, he'll move to the 4-point. In the third level, he will move to the 5-point location. Whereas Nightweave, it's turn-based. So whatever her action card says, that's where she will go on the journey location. So she may have more than one little spiderling in those journey points. So with all that being said, the winner of this match between Rugwort and Nightweave, by complete annihilation, at least in my opinion, Nightweave, the spider. I'm never, as a casual gamer, I am never going to tell anybody anything is a must have. What I will say about the Mistwood expansion for Everdell, though, is if you want a solo experience that is more dynamic, that has an opponent that acts more like you are playing against someone, then buy Mistwood so you can play against Nightweave. She's just more realistic. Rugwort just collects cards when you do. Rugwort scores points when you don't do things. Nightweave does everything on her own. She has her own city. She's scoring based on her city. She's scoring based on stuff that she's actually doing. And I just find that a lot more fun. Like I said, I'm never going to tell someone you have to buy something. That's just not me. But I will say, if you want a solo experience that mimics another player more than this, or more than Rugwort does in the base game, then yes, go buy Mistwood. It was one of my best expansion purchases. I will honestly say that, especially since I play Everdell only solo. I will not play Everdell without Mistwood again, I don't think. It's just I like that opponent who acts like an actual opponent. So that's it. Everdell versus Mistwood. Rugwort versus Nightweave. The winner, Nightweave and Mistwood. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Please comment. What expansions do you have that you will not play without anymore? Once again, this is where there's wheels, there's a play. Tail of the tape. Everdell versus Mistwood. Rugwort versus Nightweave. Nightweave with the complete knockout. Thank you for joining me.